All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. Time to continue our series, Tuesday Tao. Change your thoughts, change your life, living the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching. 500 years before the birth of Jesus, a God-realized being named Lao-tzu in ancient China dictated 81 verses, which are regarded by many as the ultimate commentary on the nature of our existence, which may be considered to be different than a commentary on the nature of reality. However, our existence, this classic text of these verses called the Tao Te Ching, or Book of the Way, or the Great Way, offers advice and guidance for us that is balanced and moral and spiritual and always concerned with working for the greater good. Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, my favorite teacher and mentor, has reviewed hundreds of translations of the Tao Te Ching, and in this book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, he has written 81 distinct essays on how to apply the ancient wisdom of Lao-tzu, which has survived for more than 25 centuries, 2,500 years, ladies and gentlemen, and now brings it to us today. And each of these 81 chapters around the verses of the Tao Te Ching is designed for actually living the Tao in our lives, the great way today, and concludes with the section which we will do in our verse today, whichever random one we find, called Do the Tao Now, in a practical way on how we can apply the wisdom of the ancient master Lao-tzu into our lives today. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's find a random verse of the Tao Te Ching. I'm going to continue looking at the camera as we continue to flip through, and I'm going to stop at a random position here. How about there? Wow, I literally stopped on a page that is the beginning of the verse. That worked good. We have, as you can see, my bookmark is way in the front there. We have the 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching. This one is entitled Living Without Authoritarianism. Well, what could that mean for us, Dr. Wayne W. Dyer? Let us see. In the 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching, it begins by saying, if you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control and let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself. How do I know this is so? Because in this world, the greater the restrictions and prohibitions, the more people are impoverished. The more advanced the weapons of state, the darker the nation. The more artful and crafty the plan, the stranger the outcome. The more laws are posted, the more thieves that appear. Therefore, the sage says, I take no action, and people are reformed. I enjoy peace, and people become honest. I do nothing, and people become rich. If I keep from imposing on people, they become themselves. If we keep from imposing on people, ladies and gentlemen, they may possibly become themselves. But let's see what Dr. Wayne W. Dyer has to say about this 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching. It could be taken many, many ways, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, thank you for being here. We're reading this for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that through that increased awareness, we can hopefully increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. Dr. Wayne W. Dyer begins by saying, quote, in this and some of the following chapters of the Tao Te Ching, Lao-tzu counsels the rulers of 2,500 years ago on how and why to pursue a high quality of leadership and governance. His advice is pertinent even today, as we all know, in the 21st century, to all forms of leadership, including government, business, and in particular, even parenting. The essential message in this 57th verse is to allow rather than to interfere. Now, this, I immediately thought there could be very contradictory to the way we feel in situations when it is that we want to, as the 57th verse put it, impose, through an attempt to help. But the sage says, I keep from imposing on people and they become themselves. So Dr. Wayne Dyer here is saying that the essential message of this verse is for us to attempt to allow rather than to interfere. He says, now I don't interpret this to mean letting an infant crawl into traffic and, leaving a child alone near a swimming pool. Obviously, these can be taken the wrong way. So if you're somebody who isn't in the correct mind state to ponder deeply on the meanings of this, and you're just saying, oh, so we should just allow people to do whatever they want, and, all the craziness is run wild. That's not what we're talking about. This is spiritual philosophy. So calm down. But I just like to point that out because this kind of stuff can easily be taken the wrong way if you are not in an appropriate mind state and interested in spiritual philosophy. If you're angry and upset and think everything sucks and is terrible, well, this is good to come to transform that mind state, but oftentimes you'll take things like allow rather than interfere as the stupidest advice ever, which is paradoxically the nature of spiritual philosophy. Like the more that you try, the more that you do not succeed. But the more that you do not try, the more that success comes towards you. It's very paradoxical, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you know this. So this allowing rather than interfering. He says, now I don't interpret this to mean letting an infant crawl into traffic or leaving a child near a swimming pool. Obviously, you must be sensible when supervising those who could harm themselves or ourselves or others. What I believe Lao-tzu is conveying here states that is that allowing is quite often the highest form of leadership. He states that more people are impoverished in societies with excessive restrictions and prohibitions, and the same can be true in families with commandments that must be obeyed without question. Remember, something we often get to on this channel, the commandments coming up in that sentence, going back to religiosity, as we can call it, but this idea of obeying without question. And also often advise on my channel to you is to question answers after asking questions. So ask questions and question those answers. Become your own guide, master your own spirit, and be your own guru. Now, with that being said, the more authoritarian any system is, the more outlaws that will appear. On the other hand, when children are encouraged to explore and exercise their inquisitiveness, they're inspired to be their best with little need for regulation. So when you change the way you view the need for rules, this is why it's very difficult for... Nah, I'll keep that out. That's personal. But when you change the way you view the need for rules, family members will tend to make decisions based on what's best for everyone rather than what's best for themselves, going around the rules that's been established for everyone that must be followed and obeyed without question. Now, once again, don't interpret this as meaning there is, don't take this the wrong way. That's what I'm saying. See what happens, for instance, if you drop an absolute curfew time for your teenagers, asking them to just be sensible about when they come home and to notify you if they're going to be later than normal. You may find that because you didn't impose yourself on them, they end up coming home actually earlier than when they had a strict curfew governing their conduct. Examine the restrictions that you enforce on yourself, that have been enforced on you and enforced in your family. And remember that effective leaders and parents do not want to be leaned on. Now, this is important because I see this in my work life. Sometimes the leaders impose themselves so much that nobody feels safe to do anything. And so the leader ends up being asked 10 million questions about every aspect of everything because no one feels safe to be themselves in attempting to do what it is they feel that is the right way. Once again, back to the verse of the Tao Te Ching. The sage says, I take no action and people are reformed. I enjoy peace and people become honest. I do nothing and people become rich. If I keep myself from imposing my will on them, they become themselves. And if you're just joining us, thank you for being here. I love and appreciate each and every one of you that spends time here with me and Dr. Wayne W. Dyer and all the wonderful authors and poets and mystics and philosophers and sages of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. We are reading the 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching and Wayne Dyer's extrapolation on how we can apply this wisdom from 2,500 years ago into our lives today. So, what do we do? Well, remember that effective leaders and parents and people in those positions in different areas of life, they don't want to be leaned on. They want to make leaning unnecessary. After all, you want your employees or your students or your children or whatever it be, even if this is work we are doing on ourselves. We want ourselves to be responsible, to be healthy, to be successful, and to be honest, not simply because there's 50,000 rules and restrictions and regulations and imposements upon us, if that's even a word, but you know what I mean, causing us to do all of those things. But rather, we want to get ourselves into a position to where we are going in those directions ourselves without being imposed upon, because then it doesn't feel personal and natural. It's like we're being forced to do this, not simply because we are there to monitor them, but because it is within their or our nature to do so. So set an example and let them see that it's possible, or let us see that it's possible to be self-sufficient and enormously successful, allowing them to learn to trust in their highest nature, rather than having to thumb through a rule book to decide what's right. I mean, there's a lot in this couple pages. It's going to be a short one today, but that bit there is allowing them or ourselves to learn to trust in our highest nature rather than having to thumb through a rule book to decide what is right. Change the way that you look at the need for edicts and laws and prohibitions, and then see yourself as someone who doesn't need to rule with an iron fist. Then enjoy taking this revised view of our leadership abilities into every area of our life where we are considered to be, quote unquote, metaphorically, the boss. What follows is some 21st century advice based on this verse that was written 2,500 years ago. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, practice the art of allowing yourself. I mean, what does that mean to you? If you were to practice the art of allowing yourself, where is it that you restrict yourself? Is that a good area? Could be. Sometimes we are able to control and restrict ourselves from things that may not be the best for us. However, oftentimes we can do this in other areas that may restrict us from things that may be in our best interest. However, begin by letting yourself be more spontaneous and less regimented in our daily life. Just take a trip without first planning it. Go where you are instinctively guided to go. I want to say that one again because it's very important. Go where you feel that you are called and instinctively guided to go. Even if that sometimes goes against the structures and the rules and your regimented daily life. Now, once again, don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying walking out into traffic and, this is spiritual philosophy. This can be taken many ways. Tell the authoritarian part of you to take a break, which is what we're talking about. Introduce a different side to yourself and the world by affirming this. I am free to be myself. I do not have to live, excuse me, by anyone else's rules, and I release the need for laws that regulate my behavior. Take a deep breath to that one. Let us repeat. Write this down if you need to. The affirmation, I am free to be myself. I do not have to live by anyone else's rules, and I release the need for laws that regulate my behavior. I release the need for laws to regulate my behavior. Now, this doesn't mean go breaking the law everywhere. This is about us having a higher quality of life through our moments, through changing our thoughts and changing our life. By changing the way that you look at things, then maybe the things that you look at might change before our very eyes, even though it may look the very same to somebody else, because they haven't changed the way that they look at it. And so their experience may still be stuck where many of us may be already now. This is advice for me as well. We're on this journey together, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, thank you for joining me. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. I have a playlist on the channel. This video will probably be a part of that playlist, but we went through every verse in this book and read through all of Wayne Dyer's advice, all the way up to the 81st verse of the Tao Te Ching, and we've continued to come back to it like we have today, because this is the kind of spiritual philosophy that you could study for many lifetimes and still come to new understandings. Number two of some 21st century advice from Dr. Wayne Dyer on how we can apply this verse, this 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching from 2,500 years ago, into our lives today. Number two is practice the art of allowing others. So the first was practice the art of allowing ourselves. Now practice the art of allowing others. Hopefully the audio quality of this video has been good because my microphone has been all the way over to the side over there. As you can see now, it is here in front of me. So that was probably interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder how that sounded. Anyways, little levity. It's all good. The audio quality is usually good when it sits over there. It sounds kind of echoey, like we're in an auditorium or something. But anyways, practice the art of allowing others. How do we do this? Well, catch yourself when you're about to cite a rule as a reason for saying no to a child or someone you supervise, and instead consider the ramifications of saying nothing and just observing. This reminds me of a great quote. I don't know if Wayne Dyer came up with it, but I learned it from him. And it's like the kids were out playing in the grass. And whatever they were doing out playing in the grass was really wrecking the grass. And whether it was the husband or the wife or whoever yelled out to the children, "Quit that! You're destroying the grass." Really angry, and the kids are like, "Oh my God, we're in trouble." But the other parent says to the spouse, "Honey, we are raising children, not grass." And in that metaphor is so much deep meaning. We're raising children, not grass. The grass can regrow. We can destroy all the grass and not worry about it. But if we destroy our children by going crazy about rules and regulations in the grass and not scratching this or, I think sometimes we just get carried away in our adult nature of not being free, which is what is really being described here, being trapped within the restrictions and prohibitions and regulations and rules that we have imposed upon ourselves and that society has imposed upon us from the earliest ages. Once again, don't do that. You're killing the grass. It's like, oh, I guess I can't just play and be free. I'm going to kill the grass. It's like, sorry, society. Sorry, teachers and parents. But rather, what if we weren't too worried about the grass and rather we were raising children? Or we were leading people, but with a new perspective, changing the way that we look at things, and then the very things that we look at may change for us. Instead, consider the ramifications of saying nothing and simply observing. When you change the way you look at your role as a leader or a parent or any position of that sort, even if it be personal in our own lives for ourselves, we will find that very few edicts are necessary for people to conduct the business of their lives. Everyone has a strong sense of what they want to do and what it is that they want to pursue in their lives, and what limits that they have, and how to actualize their dreams. Dr. Wayne Dyer says we should be like the Tao and allow rather than force and control. Allow others and enjoy how our non-authoritarian leadership and guidance inspires others to become and to be themselves freely. And finally, Dr. Wayne Dyer ends every one of these little chapters with a section called Do the Tao Now, and how we can apply this wisdom into our lives today from 2,500 years ago, specifically the 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching for this video. Do the Tao now. Make time to do something you've never done before. It could be walking barefoot in the rain. I love that. If you've never walked barefoot, especially in the grass in the rain, give it a try. Next time it's raining, it might feel weird, Take your shoes off, take your socks off, if you're wearing either, and go walking. I mean, be careful, once again, but enjoy it. Do something you've never done before. Walking barefoot in the rain, taking a yoga class, speaking before a group of people, whether it be at a Toastmasters club or something, playing a game of touch football if you've never done that, jumping out of an airplane in a parachute, well, that might be for a select few, or anything else that you've always wanted to do but never have before. Recognize that you've created restrictions for yourself that keep us from new and expanding experiences, and find the time now to close your personal rule book and plunge in where you've never before wandered. Also, make time to give those in your charge an opportunity to do the same, enjoying how much that they accomplish with minimal or no action required on your part. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a boon to the wisdom of the Tao, the wisdom of Lao-tzu, and the 57th verse of the Tao Te Ching. And change your thoughts, change your life. We'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Always love to visit Dr. Wayne Dyer and Lao-tzu and the Tao Te Ching to give us some insight and some great wisdom that we should attempt and continually attempt to apply into our lives. What did the Egyptian sage god Thoth say? He said, a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of God, of reality. But he also told us that there can be no spiritual pursuit more true or just than to seek to know the things that are, but then to acknowledge thanks for all things, which thing we shall hopefully not cease continually doing, ladies and gentlemen, especially if that means our own lives and the lives of those around us, because remember, to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment or through a greater awareness, which is what enlightenment means to me, a greater awareness and understanding of the nature of reality and ourselves and spirituality and psychology and all of these things, things that are, so that through that awareness, we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. And remember, to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages, the wisdom of the Tao, and of course, the mysteries of our history. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that there is no way to happiness. So often we're like, oh, if I get this and have this many and get that, and all that becomes irrelevant because happiness is the way. Instead of finding, seeking to find the way to happiness, happiness is the ability that we must create within ourselves to bring to life. There's no way to happiness because it is the way. And when we can bring it to our lives through work and practice and effort to create this ability to bring it to life as an activity rather than a result, then all the things we've been telling ourselves, oh, when I get that and have, becomes irrelevant, because then we already are there. And hopefully the entire journey is wonderful. The entire journey is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to expand the description below the video box and hit more, and it'll expand more, and it'll show you the links to this book so you can get it for yourself, to put it on your shelf so you can follow along in future episodes, or follow along the entire series of all 81 verses that we've done already on this channel. You can find many books that I've gone through in a playlist on this channel. I think we have quite a view. Quite a view? I don't think we have quite a view count, but we have quite a few different playlists. Keeping in mind that some of them were quite a long time ago for me in the beginning of this channel, however. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Also, there is a link to my Etsy shop and my landscape paintings that I like to do. Got into Bob Ross a while back. And also a link to C60 Power, the ultimate antioxidant known to man, Nobel Prize winning. If you've never heard of carbon 60, just do a quick Google and read about it for a few seconds and realize that it is the ultimate antioxidant known to man. So give yourself the gift of health. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I love and appreciate each and every one of you that spends time here with me and Dr. Wayne Dyer and Lao-tzu and Hermes and Thoth and all the other wonderful authors and poets and mystics and philosophers and sages of the ages. Until next time, be the change that you want to see. Be the example that you want to set. Thank you.